Long before President Bush approved today's auto bailout, experts asked if Cerberus, the firm that owns 80% of Chrysler, had done everything it could to keep the car maker going. Cerberus owns many other businesses, including a chunk of Mervyn's, a West Coast department store chain. Well, Mervyn's is now being shut down. About 18,000 people are losing their jobs, and we wanted to find out who was responsible. So Dan Simon went to California to answer the question, who killed Mervyn's?
A brother, his sister, and her 3-year-old daughter. The adults worked at the same place for 10 years. Then, without warning, they lost their jobs. And now the bank is closing in.
We're going to be in the street. We don't know when. Might be this end of the year. Maybe like beginning of the year. We don't know.
Like so many of us today, they feel powerless and confused. They worked hard, lived good lives, and yet they are now victims of immense economic forces.
You start trying to stay positive, but things basically, bills don't wait.
They had worked at Mervyn's, a chain of West Coast department stores. In fact, 18,000 others had lost their jobs. 149 stores are being liquidated. Yes, the retailer had been in decline, but its death was anything but certain. What makes this especially unnerving is that no one at Mervyn's did anything wrong. 18,000 families, their lives shattered because of decisions made by private equity bankers thousands of miles away.
This is opening day of the first store.
Mervyn Morris founded the company nearly 60 years ago.
To do what they did, what I referred to as raping the company, this really it's a heartbreak. It didn't have to happen.
And that's why so many of these families feel confused, if not helpless.
What happened to us was disgusting.
So we set out to find who should be held accountable, who killed Mervyn's and why. 4 years ago, we learned 3 private equity firms bought the retail chain. One is Cerberus. Yes, that's Cerberus, the multi-billion-dollar giant that owns Chrysler and is now getting a huge government bailout loan. So we went to its New York office to ask why Cerberus helped pick apart Mervyn's.
Couldn't get past security.
Next, we tried Cerberus's partner in Philadelphia, Lubert-Adler. These guys specialize in real estate investments. And they were not interested in explaining what happened to the Mervyn's employees.
Another no comment.
And then we tried the third and final partner in the Mervyn's mess, Sun Capital in Boca Raton, Florida.
My question deals specifically with Mervyn's.
That didn't work either, but we have learned this. Regardless of what the 3 investment groups originally planned to do with Mervyn's, they apparently concluded all the land Mervyn's owned was worth more than the business itself. So they began selling it.
The end game was obviously to make a fast buck and get out, and that's what they did.
Finally, we did get a statement from Cerberus. They wrote us the company was profitable when Cerberus sold its interest last year, and that it ultimately fell victim to the global economic crisis. And we also did hear from Sun Capital. They wrote, considerable efforts were made to support management in turning around the business, but financial headwinds and the challenging retail environment ultimately proved insurmountable. That may be true, but a lawsuit filed by Mervyn's claims that when the private equity partners sold the land under the stores, Mervyn's had to come up with an extra $80 million for rent.
I feel like I was cheated. I do.
A note on those insurmountable financial headwinds and what those 18,000 employees are trying to come to terms with. It was all just business. According to Mervyn's lawsuit, those same private equity partners also siphoned $400 million out of the company for a distribution to themselves. Dan Simon, CNN, New York.
And coming up, remember that election 7 weeks ago? Well, they are still counting votes.